Welcome to Two Kims, One Pod. I'm your host, Peter Kim.
And this is Eunji Kim.
And we are not married, not even close. We're both queer and with white men. Anyway, should that be the intro? I think that's a good one. Anyway, if you have an intro for us, send it in to
we'd love to read
to our
it.
socials. We DM us, whatever. We'd love to read it. Hey, by the way, have you been doing shows lately? You've been going out a lot, right?
Yeah, so much.
What's that? What's that about? You're tired?
I'm tired of.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I'm not going out that much.
I mean, I'm tired of how about this? I would love if I was at a point where if I could do 2 small shows, like where I was doing spots.
Yeah.
You know, and be able to work out material.
Like 10-minute spots, 10-15-minute spots. Okay.
8 to 10 minute spots.
Uh-huh.
And I was doing 2 to 3 shows on the weekend where I was making feature headliner money.
Okay.
Then I would feel good.
Oh,
That
okay.
is not the case.
So you're not tired. You're just feeling shitty that you're not making money. You're tired of being broke. You're exhausted from being broke.
Yeah, I'm exhausted from being broke. Yes.
Well, no, maybe I don't know how I feel about it because I've been going out more and more lately. You know, the writer's strike is upon us.
Right.
So I've been trying to get out there more so that I could stay busy and maybe make some money doing comedy or whatever.
Sure.
Oh my God. I got to tell you about a couple of shows.
How many shows a week are you doing right now?
1 a week. No, 2 a week. 2 a week.
That's a lot for you.
A lot for me, right?
Yeah.
I'm really putting myself out there. So
yes.
I did 2 this past week. And let me tell you, okay, the first one I did, it was a fun show. And it was more of a storytelling-y type of show where it's not straight up stand-up. It's about
for sure.
Whatever.
You gotta couch your stand-up as a story that you're telling. For sure.
Yeah. And I have a few stories that I do at these things. So I did one of those stories.
Yes. And
it went well. It's fine. But the show was hosted by this Gen Z lesbian who's famous on YouTube.
Okay.
Her name is Alex Zoll.
Okay.
I don't know if you know her, but she's
know.
this tiny little 24-year-old.
Okay.
And
they're all tiny to me.
Yeah, they even if they're bigger than you, they just seem small. Yeah.
Small. Yeah.
Yeah, they're giving tiny. And
they're so young, they seem shorter.
Exactly. Yeah. And she had a bunch of Gen Z queers on the lineup and me.
Yes.
Right?
You're the token. You're the token old.
Yeah,
What's this wizened person got to say? What's the wisdom?
Truly, they're like Gandalf's here, and
I know. I'm that person all the time.
Yeah, and usually I'm not because I don't know. I guess comedy places. If you go to comedy clubs and stuff, it's more seasoned comics, right?
Right.
But this was a Gen Z queer storytelling show. So it was a lot of young people and everybody was queer. And I know she was doing this on purpose, but it was very they were using a lot of, I guess it's become Gen Z, but it's yes, we're here serving cunt and this is pussy, fierce hunty, it's very that. And
RuPaul raised them.
No, RuPaul ruined America, I think, because now gay is gauche. It's so 24-year-old girl, blonde girls, wispy blonde girls are sickening, hunty, and I'm just oh, this is, I don't know how to feel about this. Not that I was ever that into that kind of drag queen speech anyway, but to see young kids do it as their language. It's not even drag language anymore. It's drag language and drag culture has permeated Gen Z culture. So now they're just doing it almost even ironically, right? And
yes,
but they're doing it ironically, but they don't have a different way they speak, so they're all doing it, right? So it's so weird, and I'm trying to participate because I'm there and the old fogey. But also, I don't have the energy to do so. So I'm just like sitting there going like, oh God, let me fucking go. Like I don't want to be here anymore.
Okay, Uncle Peter serving tired.
Yeah, he's serving millennial gray tired. And truly, all I wear is black and white and gray. And not because I'm a millennial and depressed. And maybe, I am millennial and depressed, but it's more because I'm from New York and I'm lazy. And New Yorkers, we grew up just wearing black. That was our thing. And like we didn't have the time to express ourselves in color, okay? Because we didn't care. We were about to get money or Coke or both. And
I'm living in black and white. Y'all are living in color. Like it's like such broom. I mean, okay. There is this thing. I saw someone really articulate it beautifully on Twitter once, but it was that millennials grew up, like everyone makes fun of millennials for the way we talk about our upspeak and our language that we use. But
highly therapized type of language.
So truly we're using the language of our peers and of corporate kind of jingle jangle, like the girl boss energy sort of shit.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like that is the milieu, the linguistic milieu from which we sprang. And and it's a lot of likes and it's a kind of valley speak even.
Valley girl, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's also corporatized. That's sort of what they make fun of us for. And Gen Z is that, what you're talking about, which is this drag race like adjacent stuff, but they're also the most quote unquote woke, racially conscious generation that is co-opting the language of the AAVE that was co-opted within the drag community.
Oh yes.
So it's like this level of co-opting and insensitive appropriation that in 10 years when they're our age they'll
be chooky. Yes.
They will, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
They are about to get their comeuppance is so clear.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I see it. I'm watching them be like future problematic. Like the Gen Alphas are going to look at them and be like, "Ill.
Oh, why are you speaking this way?"
Exactly. Because they're all going to be half AI anyway. So they're all going to be like, "Hello, you are being problematic and you should only speak in this intonation." Like it's all going to be like robot speak in the future.
But I mean, it's just by virtue of the fact that we've already seen people be like types of speaking phase out, right? Like even AVE like being a part of a comic timing or being like going where you use or employ like a certain accent for things has already become passe in our lifetime. So we know and we've seen it happen. Gen Z has not.
I know.
They think what they're doing is
so
new.
Cool. Yeah, I know. They're like, I know, because they're all like tweens and early 20s. College post-pandemic, so they're like wilding out. They don't give a fuck. They have no planet to work for anymore. The climate change is coming for them.
Yes.
So like it's this kind of like YOLO energy, and they're like
YOLO energy.
It's YOLO woke energy, and but at the same time, everyone's white. Like you're all white. What are you talking about? Like but they're like they have like a short haircut, and they're queer, and they're like lady love. So it's like woke. It's just so weird, and I felt so out of place there. I couldn't like wait to like get the fuck out of there.
It's so
it was
funny.
So scary. I felt scared as a 40. I'm gonna be 41, and I was just like standing around these wispy Gen Zs, like yes, I was saying cunt.
All right, Peter, my indie darling. Let me just tell you this.
Please stop calling me your indie darling. I've been in one indie movie, and so this is
you're going to be in more. But like,
I
was literally I was at this show that was very hipster, incredibly hipster. It was Cosmic Country at Sabine Village. It is such a great show in Chicago. If you ever want to hear a live band, it's so fun. It's all country western theme. Everyone dresses up. It's so hipster energy. And I grew up and came of hipsterdom, hipster age during the height of like country western, like Wilco. Like it was that era. That's sort of what the energy that these kids are also mining. So I'm actually the retro. I was there originally.
You're the
thing that
proto hipster.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm like part of the scene that they are referencing.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, like that's
what
the
a tight
thing.
circle of culture.
Truly. So I'm there at this like truly very hip, like ground zero for hipster dumb.
Oh, how bad did it smell? Did it smell
It
bad?
smelled fine. It was
Okay.
very nice
Are you
venue.
sure?
I loved it. I loved it. I can't get me to say otherwise. I was so
All
much
right.
fun.
All
I
right.
was truly like, these are my people.
Okay.
But what was interesting is that they're all 21 to like 26, right? And what's fascinating to me is that hipsters and the prototypes, they don't change. Like everyone was playing a role that I have already seen being played by the original, right?
Okay.
Like it's like casting, just recast that guy.
Give me an example.
Like the tall, wispy guy with the beanie carrying a book and a book bag. Like I've already seen that being played by the original, and now this new guy has been cast, and it's just the same guy. Just he's just a new actor.
Yeah, but okay, let me ask you this. Is this something that you feel like has come back or it just never left?
It's always.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever left.
No,
right?
it's never left.
It's not
So,
a
like,
new iteration of hipster.
No, and we were probably the fifth person, and then they're like
because it started from, I feel like, Beat generation.
Yes,
Beatniks started it. The like, oh, I'm carrying a like on the road, you know, and you're
and I'm smoking cigarettes, and I'm
Jack
like tall,
Kerouac.
wispy,
Yeah,
I'm a tall,
exactly.
wispy person. There's like the same sort of like small, energetic, mouthy girl in the corner. You know, like it's the exact same. And the thing is, what's fun for me as someone who's seen the various iterations of this scene is there's comfort in the fact that they're not coming up with anything new. Like when you're in your 20s, you have all this anxiety about not being new. You're constantly trying to be an iconoclast. You're constantly trying to subvert and create new versions of things. And what's a relief to me at 40 is to know that there's simply not a way out.
There's nothing
that
new.
You are doomed / destined and prophesized to be the same version of someone else, and it should be comforting.
Yeah,
because
that
now
you don't
just
have to
be
create
yourself.
a identity.
You don't. And
Just
you can
slip
be
in.
yourself. Just slip in and be yourself, because you will, at the core of it, right? Even if by appearances you're some version of somebody, you will at the core of it still be yourself, right? Whatever story you need to tell, that's your life. How the fuck do I know? But just on the outset, from the outward appearances and like what we're describing as this like public persona that you feel all this pressure to present as a 20-year-old, it's just like very funny to me to see all the effort going into something that is essentially the same as some other thing.
It's the way I felt when I like watch these people talk in like drag race terms, and I was just like, oh, you're trying so hard to be relevant, and as you get older you drop that.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the ever like cascading flow of like culture, is that like everyone's like desperate to be current. And you and I think, at least for me, I've like fell off that cliff a while ago.
I'm done. I'm baked.
done. There's no,
get me out of the oven.
Yeah, I try to like stay current on like current affairs, news, like who's on the pop charts or whatever. But like, I'm not going around singing BB Rexa. Like, I know who she is because I should be aware. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or like,
we're people in the culture. We're of the culture, and we're.
I can't even go to Coachella. Like, do you know how many of my friends are still going to Coachella? And I'm like, are you crazy?
Crazy?
How are you doing this? Where do you have the energy? Or like, you're sucking up dust for 3 days and standing.
I just don't want to be that uncomfortable. I mean, like, I have not been to a music festival since Pitchfork 2009.
Truly, like, that was bad.
2009. And that was an era in which Sparks was still available. Do you remember Sparks?
Yeah, that energy drink?
/ malt liquor.
Malt liquor. Yes. It was like the answer to Four Loko.
Yes. It was actually Sparks, and Four Loko was still available during this era.
Wow.
And I remember drinking it at the Pitchfork because it was like there was like the big rollout there, and I remember having it like a ton of them. That was like what I was drinking. I was drinking it like White Claws, and for those of youngs who don't know what it is, it was taken off the market because people were dying.
Yeah, their hearts were bursting.
Because it was like it's like drinking like Mad Dog and Monster in one can.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember, and I remember that at the end of this Pitchfork day, like Animal Collective got on stage and like the lights like at the beat like dropping like went up on stage, and that's when I blacked out. Like that's like the only like it was like if it just as a moment in cinema like lights go up and boom, and then I'm also like and I just woke up at home.
Wow.
And like truly like blackout. That's the last time I ever went to a music festival. Would never go again. Like I truly have no desire to be
zero, unless there's like a private cabana with air conditioning.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, I can only glam from now on. I just can't do it. I don't have it within me to be that cool. I just don't. I don't need it. I'm sorry. I just don't have the like thirst to be validated in that way.
But also, Peter, this is the reality. I've never been cool. There's no
trust. You've not once in your life has anyone called you cool.
Never.
No.
People call me intense.
Wound up. Problematic.
Yeah. No one's ever called me cool. No. Okay? People called me like weird.
No one's ever said chill. The word relaxed and Eunji do not go together.
No one's ever called me cool. But this is the thing. I don't know if you have an immigrant parent, if you can ever be cool.
No.
Because there's part of culture that you are simply not privy to.
The references, we just don't have the references.
I have the references. Like, I didn't have cable as a child. I just create. So how am I supposed to?
I watch Korean stuff and fucking Channel 4, 7, and 2.
11. For me, PBS. There's no way
WB,
I'm fucking,
of course. Yes.
But there's no way I'm going to be cool. No. Like, I'm not listening to anything.
You're as cool as any average immigrant is because that's all you know.
That's all I know.
Exactly.
I know that I know how to get a good deal.
But get this. Gen Z kids who are like, Spears cunty. Like, I bet to them, an immigrant that doesn't know about stuff is cool. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you know how hipster is like the wrong thing is cool? I bet now, like, if you're fresh off the boat, it's like, oh my God, Fabi, you're Fob.
Do you want to know?
Fob.
When in 2000 and like whatever, 2008, 2009, when we were young people, we used to play this game that was immigrant or hipster. And it was like, because that look, right? Like the Urban Outfitters, like a little bit too short pants, like the sweaters. It was like very
oversized
sweaters.
Yeah.
It was just like it was giving, as a kid, which as a children would say, it was giving ajashi on a walk.
Yeah.
Like around the neighborhood, right? Like if it was
ethnic
just
uncle. Because you know, like uncle is like auntie. Like you can call anyone uncle.
It's like truly like that's the energy of like what these boys are wearing, and it's like
just
from the
poor.
back you
just
can't.
Poor.
Yeah,
they're
poor.
They're appropriating.
They're cosplaying
poor people.
That
poverty.
Poor people, poverty, and immigrant like castaway
struggle.
Stuff.
Yeah,
struggle. But like, there's no way that the sort of plugged in cool, especially now, that's relevant.
No,
it's just simply like I don't have enough time. I'm making and doing. I can't ingest.
You're creating humans. There's no way you could be cool.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Even Chrissy Teigen, she's not cool.
No.
People think she's cool, but
who thinks she's cool?
I don't know. CBS. They gave her like a judge show on Quibi. Now Quibi was cool. Quibi was too cool. Quibi was so cool. They were like, none of y'all could have it. Limited time only.
Wait, let me tell you how. So I did a show. I did a day where I did 2 shows
in one day.
In one day,
you're feeling yourself.
Yes, yeah. But I went from the South Loop to a show to 18 to 19-year-olds at Columbia College. I did a show there, and
You did a show at Columbia College.
Correct.
For what audience? Like who was it? Was it? No, I
for
know,
people
but like,
that were
was it like APA club or like it was it
No. It
comedy
was the comedy
friends?
club.
The The Columbia College Comedy Club?
That was in an auditorium.
Oh wow! So were they the best audience or the worst? Because if these are kids that are fans of comedy, they could either be like really great or they could be like, Psh, I could do better.
There were 15 people there.
Name them all, first and last name.
I would say there were 15 people there.
Uh-huh.
4 of them left before I started my set.
Oh my God.
So there were 11 people there. Crazy. And so
11 people in an auditorium? Eunji.
they were not seated close to each other.
Eunji. Oh my God. Wait, how many people were performing?
Every single person in the audience performed. I gave feedback to them.
Oh, wait, what? Why?
They each got
Was
5
this
minutes.
a show or was this like a class?
It was like part of a comedy festival, and so the thing was they were all going to receive feedback from a real comedian, and then as a special
she couldn't show up.
treat-
She couldn't show up.
And so,
She was booked.
wait, let me just tell you this. I booked this because of because of a connection I made at my synagogue.
Hell yeah.
So
The original networking.
The original networking. So like they had and as a special surprise, I was going to be performing a set.
After all of theirs or before all of theirs?
After.
So
after.
they all went, you gave notes, and then you went up? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I would be freaking out. I don't think I could play in front of people I had just torn apart.
I didn't tear them apart.
You only gave good. You only gave good notes?
I did not give. I gave good feedback with some positive stuff inside of it.
Okay.
Like I didn't say you were bad. I was like, would have loved to seen like you like dig. That feels like really ripe part of your set.
Yeah,
like
dig
this
into
is
that.
really dig into this. Like
okay.
this was exciting. I think I can see your comedic roots here. This
Oh,
was
cool.
Very, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I'm like I teach.
You're being supportive.
Yes, and I teach,
Yeah.
so I understand what works,
Resonates.
and it's very easy for me
Yeah.
to do this, right?
Okay.
So, and I don't think, and this is when I was telling you, like the bar for the stuff inside of academia is depressingly low. So everyone, like professors, came up to me afterwards, were like, "That was incredible! Wow!" I was like, "Was it?" like. Like if you spent $350 and we're in the basement of the Onoyan Theater, it would have been the same. But incredible that you think this. But I did my set afterwards, and you asked if it went well. No, it went horrible. These 18-year-old and 19-year-olds were like glaring at me the entire time.
They were not laughing?
They were like, some of them were laughing, but that's like, it's 11 people in a room, and I'm being enthusiastic and like genuine.
Did they at least turn off the lights?
No, I was staring at every single one of them in the face. Like eyeball to eyeball.
Oh,
like,
no.
I was like, and one of the girls I kept like making eye contact with because she was really like giving me hate face. So I was kind of being like, what about this? And this was her face the entire time.
Resting bitch face. Oh, wow.
And at one point
that
I
might
was
not
like,
be her fault, though. That might be the way she was born, because I have that. I have that. You know I have that, the resting bitch face. That doesn't mean
but
I'm
that's
not
when
having
you're
fun.
yes, it does.
You're right. I'm usually not having fun.
Yeah. So like if you're having fun, you're going to have it on your face.
Yeah. Naturally, I'm not having a good time.
Yeah. Like she was just like actively, like I was like trying to get in her good graces, and she was actively like
Blocking. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Stonewall.
And it was very bizarre because it's also earnestness, right? Like this working hard energy that like I certainly have with regard to at least my comedy. It's polished, and it's, you know, especially with the set I'm doing right now, it's polished, and it's like, this is a fucking show. This is a set of comedy. Yeah. And it's coming to you with like thought out premise, like punchline, tags, thematic idea, moving into the next, like, you know?
Yeah.
And they were so I would say half of the people were very enthusiastic and into it, and then half of them were like, what a try hard, uncool, stupid old lady.
Oh my God. To have 6 people say that or think that.
But this is how uncool I am. I was like, That's all right. Like, who cares? Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're getting paid, right? Did you get
getting
paid?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, of course.
It was
I
a
was like,
gig.
thank you very much. Yeah, it was a gig. And I was just like, I don't fucking care.
You're not feeling bad.
I don't care what these what these children
think
about me.
Yeah.
They're dumb.
They,
what the?
They're going to Columbia College.
I'm just saying, like they're literally
kidding.
5 years. They're literally 5 years away from knowing anything.
Yeah, I get that.
So like, what the fuck do I care? You know, like
You don't. No, you can't care. Yeah,
I don't care.
You got your paycheck.
And then I went all the way to Skokie from doing comedy to 18 to 19-year-olds. Drove to Skokie, Illinois, to do comedy for 80 to 90-year-olds.
The other end of the spectrum.
Other end of the spectrum.
Wow.
And let me say,
were there more people there?
Oh, there was a ton of people there. This was like
good.
a sold out event. There's like, you know,
Good.
I would say 80 to 90 people that were 80 to 90 years old. Wow. And I arrived and there were already 2 people that were asleep. So when you talk about people that weren't caring, it was just a real, it was just a
double
day,
whammy. Yeah.
a double whammy, like just like an exercise in humility.
Yeah, oh my God. Oh God. That is humiliating. Just running around the damn city.
To make $100 and then like.
Yeah. And for people to be sleeping and not caring.
When I got up on stage, by the time I got up on stage, there were more people sleeping.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's horrific.
I mean, to be fair, it was past 8 o'clock.
Yeah, Dave should be in deep REM sleep right now. I had a show that was also, so my second show I did, I don't even know what to say. Okay, so you know how I sweat a lot, and I've been sweating on stage a lot lately.
What do you think that is?
I think it's my body telling me to quit it. To just cut it out.
No, Peter, your body sweats in a lot of stuff. He's not telling you to quit all of them.
I sweat a lot, but like especially on stage, I've been like the lights have been hitting me hard.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I don't know what it is. Like I'm sweating a lot on stage, and it's like getting in the way where I'm like, it's going into my eyes and stuff. And I've talked about this on the pod before, and I'm like, I don't know how to remedy this at this point. Like I'm going up on t-shirts. Like I'm not. I'm really like trying to my best to like be cool up there. But anyway, so I did this show. There's this guy, a fairly newer comic, who reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have this show. Do you want to? It's called Rice and Beans, and it's all Mexicans and Asians." And
that's very funny. Okay.
Yeah, and it's down in a city, like a heavily Mexican populated city. And I was like, okay, great, this is gonna be fun. And so I show up, and the show's at 10, right? It's like a late show at this club, right? Okay. There's like a little club that opened up there, very nice, but whatever. And I show up at 10 o'clock, and they said I was headlining. So I was like, okay, I'll go up at the end.
Yeah.
But turns out I was headlining as in I'm going last. And I'm doing...
Yeah, that's what happens when you're a headliner.
No. But like I'm doing 15 minutes. And there's 10 people doing 8 minutes before me.
Eight people?
10. Whatever. I couldn't even count. Basically, I got there at 10 and I went up. They introduced me. And please welcome Peter Kim at 12:01. Yeah. So I took multiple laps around this town. I bought a record from like a record shop that was open late for $2, like Julio Iglesias, and the guy was like, "Hey, how do you know this guy?" I'm like, "It's my mom's favorite." Anyway, so like I'm like doing everything I can, and it's a small town, so there's not much open, right? So I take multiple walks around, and tell me why the owner of this fucking club comes to the back and is like kikiing with all the comics and like smoking weed and blah blah, and he's like talking about Jamie Foxx's daughter and how fuckable she is, and he's like, "Yeah, would you fuck that? Yeah, I would fuck that," and I'm just like, this guy is in his 50s. These kids are in their 20s, and it just feels so yuck. And it's like that. It's like that club owner feel of the 80s or 70s, where you're just like, yuck. I thought we were done with this, but it's like it's in a small town, so I guess it's revived. You know, it's like misogyny revival. And
yes.
So
it's like it's a touring. It's touring.
It's
right?
touring.
Like
It's Barnum and Bailey.
Yeah.
So it's just like a bad situation, you know, and it's the guy who invited me. Like he was like profusely like apologizing. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, blah blah. It's getting started late and like midnight."
Yeah.
2 hours after I arrive, I'm going up, and the show
was it packed?
It was like almost packed. So
Okay,
like
great.
there's a lot of people, and the crowd
Yeah.
was great. Like it was great, and I got.
But they had to be tired after 2 hours.
Tired, and I get up there, and I'm tired,
Yeah.
and I'm trying this thing where I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
So like I'm not just in life, but like I'm not drinking before shows or smoking before shows because I want to
Sure.
start like just having a healthier relationship to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't
going
drink
up. I'm
or
going up
smoke
stark
before.
sober. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going up stark sober, and they're all like, "Okay, this is the end." Blah blah. And I start getting into my set, and I'm not. They don't laugh at my first thing. They go, "Aw," and they're feeling bad for me, and
I hate that.
and that throws me the fuck off. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh God, they're not getting it."
Yeah.
So I'm like readjusting in the middle, and I'm going, what set am I doing? What am I? And,
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not great at all. Okay.
Yeah. When you're doing sort of like when you're not being able to be present because you trust the audience and you're
Yeah.
having to.
And,
I mean, that's a situation.
and they were great for everyone else. So I'm like, I'm the fucking asshole, right? So,
But
you
the
know,
awe is interesting.
yeah, it was just like, I guess I shouldn't have opened with such a self-deprecating joke or whatever. But like, it I don't know.
But
Whatever.
it's like a Hispanic, it's like a Latinx and Asian show. These are all immigrant people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I don't know. It was just like an awe audience, and I was like, oh
An
man.
all audiences, in my experience, is always old and white or
yeah,
young and white.
But yeah, they were like young and Hispanic. So I was like, what's going on here? Anyway, it definitely made me go into my head, and I wasn't present. And then I had to drop my set and start going
Yeah.
into crowd work,
Sure.
which usually works. And then I brought it back around,
Yeah.
and I was, and I got, you know, like it was fine at the end. Tell me why I get off stage, and this kid who invited me, he's a Korean guy. He says, my parents are in the audience. And I was like,
What?
Oh, what?
Your parents stayed until midnight to watch the.
to watch the show, and I was like, "Oh, that's
What
so
kind of parents?
sweet."
These are Korean
Parents who watch this show, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's so awesome that they're there." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's like their fourth time seeing my show," and I was like, "Fourth time? These are like the best parents in the world." And he goes, "Yeah, you know, actually, my mom's a fan of yours," and I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" She was like, yeah, she saw that she wasn't going to come, but my mom and dad are both here because they wanted to see you because you were closing out the show. And I was like, what? How does she even know me?
Yeah.
She was like, she's a fan of the Ajumma show. What? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And apparently, he's 25 years old. He was like, when I started comedy like a couple of years ago or whatever, I told her I was starting comedy, and she literally asked me, oh, really? Do you know Peter Kim? And he was like, no. And she was like, yeah, you should listen to Peter Kim. And she introduced him to me. And, and to have like the host of this comedy show come up to me and say, you're my mom's fave, was the craziest thing to hear for me. I was like, oh my God, I feel so old. Holy shit.
Peter, this has happened to me where this.
What?
Also, by the way, this
What?
person also kept telling me that I reminded them of their mother.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Because, okay, let me ask you this. This person, their parents were Gen X, right? They're like in their 50s, like early 50s.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
You Gen X Koreans are
I know.
Like the ones that got married young and are having kids that are in their 20s now are ruining and
Our
making
lives.
Our lives.
Yes.
It's
and our,
both ruining
and our
making.
self-esteems.
Yes.
Here's the thing by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, you know who you are,
Yes. Thank you very much for
thank
listening.
you
Like
for
and
listening,
subscribe.
and thank you for being at the show and all that.
And we appreciate
and staying
it.
so long. God,
I cannot believe.
I can't believe on a Saturday night they worked all week. I'm sure at some.
So knowing this about Korean parents, does this make you feel sad or angry?
Those are my two choices.
Because like just knowing that it's like, because there's a part of us when we talk about immigrant parents, we're like, oh, their lives were like this, and it's just like not a part of Korean culture. But you see these people, and they're fucking Korean.
I know, and they're like fully supporting their children in their 20s, these Gen Z children at this comedy club at midnight on a Saturday. I was like, what?
So does that make you feel
what
sad?
am I living like? First, okay, I went
Or does it
through.
make you feel angry?
I went through like a wave of emotions. I was angry at first because he told me that I was his mom's fave.
Yes.
And then when I dug under the anger, I was like, oh, it's sadness because I'm realizing that this young kid, who, by the way, other people have said that looks like me, right? They've like mistaken him for me, which like happens all the time, right? If you're Asian and you're whatever in comedy, everyone's like,
except for me, I look like nobody.
Yeah, you're an original. Except for Ellie Wong. Anyway, so he goes, he tells me that, and I get a little upset, and then I'm like, oh, I'm sad that like I'm no longer I'm not your favorite comedian. I'm your parents, So I'm like, oh, I'm a generation behind. I'm in that generation now.
Yes.
Of course, I understand how old I am, but like inside my comedian head, I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm a mom's fave, right? So like, and then I thought about it for longer, and I was like, oh wait, I'm actually someone's fave.
Yes.
Because of our podcast.
Yes.
And it's not like she found us through like some bigger venue or exposure. Like she found us through this niche ass podcast called Ajumma Show. So I'm like, that made me really happy again. So I went through like a roller coaster of emotions, and I ended up happy, which is nice.
Yes.
But it was such a mindfuck to hear that from someone. And now I'm realizing, oh, not only are these kids getting younger and younger, these kids' parents might have exposure to me and my work in a generational way.
Yes. Truly.
It's so crazy. Because
it's so crazy.
It's so it's a mind fuck.
Because just like as a population and demographic, Asian Americans are getting older. Like we've been in this country longer. So as a community, we're just more deeply entrenched, right?
Yeah.
And like I will say that I went through the same sort of roller coaster. Like at first I was like, excuse you? Like, like your mothers. No. I'm like, aren't I? What about you? You don't like me? Like, what, all my content's about being old and a mother doesn't relate to you? Crazy.
Yeah, odd, but that works.
Okay, use your imagination. So I also felt angry, and then kind of like put off, and then sort of realizing the fact that they have being the representation in other people's lives feels crazy, because there is no one that we can speak to that we found that's like our parents. There is no version.
Right.
There is no reality.
Our parents didn't have a fave.
They didn't have a fave.
They were in Korea. It was like Youngju.
But they're not consuming media. There's nothing generationally that speaks to both of us.
Connecting us.
There's just not. There's like so the cultural ties to each other generationally aren't just tenuous. They don't exist at all. That was what made me sad.
Yeah, you are right. There's like we're in this like shadow generation in this country where like, and it's just unfortunate as first gens. Yeah, because like we've maybe that's why we are not cool, because there's never been a trickle down of culture or references from a parent or an older sibling or a cool cousin. Like you and I just always had to be the pioneers ourselves. Like you being an only child, me being the oldest child. Like we had to figure it out on our own and
I just
make
opened
all
up
our mistakes and all the horrible clothing choices.
Exactly. I mean, literally, like I picked what I was gonna read by opening up the Penguin Classics, like the inside of the thing, and it just had a list of American classics.
You're like
crossing them off, like. Okay.
Like a dutiful little child.
Exactly. Like you're like, okay, these are the best.
Yeah.
And
Tale of Two Cities. We're gonna go to Anna Karenina. Yeah.
Oliver Twist. Like it's just like shit that like taste wise, what do I fucking know?
Yeah.
Right. There's no one telling me. My mom would sometimes be like, oh, I've heard that Anna Karenina was good, so she made me read that. War and Peace. It's just like shit that like some math tutor.
Of course, she knows the Russian ones.
Yes, because it's like supposed to be the fanciest.
Yeah.
It's the fanciest. That's the only reason. What does she fucking know? She's read 0 books. She's never read a book. My mother has never read a book.
This is why, okay, so folks who are listening, if you are a mother, start reading books so you don't have children like us. And secondly, if you're one of us and who has a mom who is stupid, buy her a fucking book, all right? Or a Hooked on Phonics. Get her to read. Audiobooks. There's a lot of choices out there.
I mean, it's just like...
You don't want more of us out here. Just angry and referenceless.
But I mean, when was she gonna fucking? I mean, she stopped going to school in high school. Like like they're learning different things. I'm sure she read. I don't know.
There are
book.
Korean bookstores.
I'm sure she's read like a Korean book. But when she came here, she wasn't I mean, there is 0 books in my house.
That were except for mine. The encyclopedia.
Yeah, aside from mine. Like aside from there were 0 books.
Oh, absolutely. My mom has no books.
No books.
My parents had no. We had the like a Korean English dictionary.
Yes.
And the Bible.
That blue one. Yeah, and the blue one. Yeah.
And the only Korean book I had, we had was mine because I bought Chingu. When I was young, because I watched the movie and I wanted to read Chingu as if like I was a Korean person, and I would like read it and be like, I don't understand a thing that's happening.
No,
like I could actually read it, I could sound it out, but I had no idea what the fuck these things meant. Especially because a lot of it was in Saturi too. Yes. So like, I'm just like reading this dialect that I don't even understand, but like I was so like. I don't know. There was a point where I was so into like knowing Korean so well that I could even read books in Korean and even like tell stories in Korean. You know,
that is a flex.
I just never got there. But you're right. Our parents didn't read.
I've never.
Well, they didn't have time.
They didn't have time.
They were surviving.
I've seen my father read a newspaper. I've seen him read a newspaper.
I've seen newspapers. Yeah.
Yeah, but not anymore. I mean, even there's no.
They're just
Korean
on their phones,
newspaper.
squinting into their phones. Do your parents do that? Just like
my
hold their phones
does.
up to their fucking eyeball.
Well, my dad can't really see. I mean, my father's done. Driving by feel. Like, like he really can't see. So if you're out there,
he should not be on the fucking road.
I mean, he knows the roads. I'm gonna say by feel. Like he's taking the same route every single day. He's not going anywhere new, and if they go somewhere new, my mom drives. But all right. I'm being serious about it. Like driving by feel.
Yeah,
like he knows like the things.
Even if he doesn't have his eyesight, like he's too old to be driving anyway.
So he's not reading anything on his fucking phone. My mom sort of is.
Yeah,
but she's not well versed enough to like figure it out.
No. I asked my mom. I was like, I told my mom like, I was like, you know, like I'm a writer and I'm writing things, and I was like. Talking to her recently about like how privileged I feel about being able to be a writer. What a like lofty position that is.
It is
coming from where we are. You know, like it was only for the rich and like you know, highly educated or whatever in Korea to be a novelist or whatever the fuck.
Wait, but like it is very fancy. But by the way, can I ask you, what did you pick at your tour?
Pencil. Yeah.
Me too.
Oh, you did? See? There you go.
Weird.
I know, just poor artist. Yeah. That's probably what our moms were thinking. Like, oh, fuck. All right, start saving now. But my mom was like, 엄마 닮아서 그래. And I was like, what? What do you mean? You're not a writer? And she's like, when I was young, I would write all these poems and stories and win contests and stuff. And I was like, why don't you write now? And she was like, I can't write now. And I was like, why not? You should write down your stories. She was like, no, I can't. And I'm like, I feel like you want to, and you're like begging me to like ask you to do it. So I've been doing like audio recordings with my mom and like getting stories down like that. But like, I don't know. She's got a lot of crazy stories, you know? So like, and a lot of stories of like survival and struggle and like, you know, having to be like in like an underground fucking warrior to like exist in Flushing, Queens. So I'm like, at least write it down so that like I can sell it as a movie or something.
Help me
but
out,
I think
Mom.
she's afraid. I think there's a block to her about like, we've talked about this before about like revisiting some stories and trauma that like might break her. So I think she's like, that's the block.
I mean, it's so funny, Peter. My mom also wrote in high school. That was like her specialty, was writing.
Wow, look at that.
She wrote poems and like very specific, because like it's like a Korean thing. I think
it's like a Korean girl thing too.
Yes, to write poems.
Yeah,
and I think it's just in most of the world, like you write poetry much more. I mean, even in America, teenage girls and boys they're fucking writing poetry.
Yeah,
that's the market.
A limerick at the least.
Yeah. But it's like definitely a thing. My mom was also literary. Among all of her sisters, she was the one that like kind of wrote and was like dreamy in this way.
Oh wow!
And my mom says the same thing. And we've talked about it. It is not only revisiting the way they've managed to survive the trauma of that experience is by simply leaving it in the past.
Yes, yes.
Turning
not
the page.
touching it, not addressing it, not processing it, not writing about it, exactly. And the way right, which is like my mom says that too, right? She was like, if I start digging, I'm going to kill myself. And I was like, okay, well, let's stop digging. But secondly, it comes down to that kind of generational difference of them not being able to look inward and us only being able to look inward.
Yes.
Like it is a value for us to look inward and dig and process and create art so other people could understand and possibly not feel alone, blah, blah. Like that is our charge. But our parents, it's the exact opposite. It's like they couldn't think of something more embarrassing than talking about themselves. And their like innermost traumas and the sadness they go through and all that. Like they've been conditioned to be like tough. I'm like, whatever, I'm good. I'm here. I'm fine. We're moving on.
But because also the proximity to their trauma makes excavating it not a virtue. Their proximity to it means that they are not the generation that will process it.
No.
It means that we are now the ones that will have to
process
right? Because
it,
to process it is for us virtuous. It is something that is seen as morally virtuous.
Yes.
And the thing is,
which is very anti-Confucian. Like that's why I think there's a
self-examination.
Huge thing.
Yes.
And it's like being loud or being like, the nail that sticks out. And saying me.
And centering your story.
Right.
Whereas the young people that we're meeting and with the Gen X, they both have this virtue. They both are far away enough from that trauma to be able to process it. Like my parents are much more like my husband's grandparents were. Like they're like sort of like proximity to the trauma, because his parents grew up in relative affluence and their trauma was like kind of watching Soviet Union crumble. Okay. But they grew up sort of like privileged only children and like being able to operate and go to college and do these things and having had parents that went through the war. And so like when I look at the similarities in terms of immigrantiness, it is very clear that my parents are like his grandparents.
Yeah. Generation
and
behind.
Like generation behind.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what we're working with right now. When we look at these youngs, we are
doing
like
so much fucking work. Because there's people in our generation, our cohort that act like our parents.
Yes.
So we're stressing and striving so hard to be not that generation of the compartmentalization. Because
we're still straddling both. We're still we are definitely.
I feel fully Gen
straddle.
X. I rarely feel millennial. I know we are technically because of the cusp or whatever the fuck, but like culturally, I never felt millennial. I felt Gen X more.
And it's also because of the immigrant thing. Like I think
the immigrant thing
sort of,
pushes you one generation behind.
Yes, because of the sort of there is no one that has like millennial is this idea that like you've been coddled and everyone has said that you were great and this like thing.
You're lazy.
No one in our
you
lives
don't work hard. Yeah, exactly.
No
We're
one
like
in
the
our lives,
direct opposites.
Like literally, I would go home by myself at 6 o'clock, watch television for 5 hours, and make myself dinner. Like that was my day, and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And so that idea is much more. We are actually in our lives and in practice are much closer to Gen X. So when these people are talking about us being like their parents, I think it's because of that. I mean, one, and generationally we are.
And and I'm not offended. I'm just like taking a second to breathe it in.
But also,
you know,
I mean, to be fair, and the thing is, like, this is a bit I've been doing in my act recently, but it's like we are also have a lot of young friends because things aren't working out for us. So we are,
because our age level friends are moving on without us.
Yeah, they've already like they're not only on their first home, they're on their second.
Yeah,
and they're like they're done. Versus like
we're
us
started.
getting started, and we're also in an industry where we're just like sort of. Because this is the thing. We also started our lives
at 30
later.
I know. Yeah, I know. So like I know we have so much going against us. It's amazing that we're still up and running.
And
like
trying.
You would have thought like we'd given up by now.
No, but you know what?
Through it all.
We're schemers and dreamers.
Yeah. Scheming and dreaming since 1982. All right, folks, that's it for Two Kims this week. Thank you so much. Check out our Patreon. Check out our socials. Leave us a review. That helps us a lot.
Please.
And thank you so much for listening. And we love you guys. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.